Hello again, and welcome to the Memoir channel. Today I'm going to be speaking with Wendy L. Scott Hawkins about her memoir, Searching for a Stranger and Finding Myself. Now, this memoir is about Wendy's search for a half-sibling, and we will find out from her what all the obstacles were and what the outcome was, and let's go and speak to Wendy. Hi, Wendy, and welcome
Hi,
to
Nikki.
the Memoir channel.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to start right off and ask you to tell us a little bit about your memoir, because I know it's about your search for a half-sibling, but when did you decide to write this? At what point were you, I'm going to write about this?
Right. So I did my search quite a few years ago before there was really, the internet was just coming out. So I decided to write my book during COVID because I was bored.
Okay.
And yeah.
So this is amazing because you will have, I mean, so many people have said during COVID. So COVID spawned a lot of memoirs. That's pretty fantastic. Okay. So you'd already done the research.
Yes.
And did you know that you were going to write this book?
When I decided to write it, I did know that I was going to write it. But before, when I was searching for my half sibling, no, I had no idea that I would ever write a book about what happened. It wasn't until I was over 50 when I wrote it. And I thought, this is something that I feel like I need to do. So yeah, I knew that I would write it. I didn't know whether or not how I was going to publish it at that point either. I didn't know if it was just going to be for family, because it is a lot about family. So yeah, that kind of came a little bit later on, that decision.
All right. And how did you publish?
I self-published. When I was younger, like in probably my 20s, I did try publishing a few children's books. And I got traditionally like sending them to publishers, and I had to type it on a typewriter because there wasn't computers, and I got a lot of rejections. And so I did have a couple things published. I think it was in Today's Parent. I wrote a little story about me and my son and my husband at the time. We were going on a picnic, and so I wrote that, and that did get published. So I did get a couple things published in articles, but never a book. So and during COVID, that's when it seemed like a lot of people wanted to self-publish, and that was a happening thing. So I thought, why not? And I knew two people that had self-published. So I went to them, two authors, and talked to them about it. And then that's how I made my decision to self-publish.
All right, very good. Yeah, it's a little crushing to get rejected and rejected and rejected. So, I mean, who needs that?
Right. And I didn't want that again, because I thought, I know me, and I know if I start this process and if I say, yep, I want it traditionally published, and I get rejection after rejection, that would be it. I would give up.
Stop. Yeah. So, okay, this is interesting because you're doing this search for this half sibling, and you don't actually know their name, do you?
No.
And there's no internet. So how on earth did you start this search?
Well, I first started the search by talking to my mom, see if she had any information, because it was a half sibling. It wasn't my mother's child. It was my dad's child. And she knew very little about what had happened because they were separated at the time.
Right.
So she sent me to my aunt, who is my dad's sister, and she knew a lot more. So she gave me the birth mother's name and her phone number. And she remembered the baby's name. She remembered the name of the baby, but I don't think she remembered the birth. So then the next thing, I called the birth mom, and she gave me information. And alone on that information, I couldn't get anywhere. I did try, but I could not get anywhere. So really and honestly, the best thing that I did was I wrote to the Children's Aid Society in London, Ontario, because that was where the adoption took place. And
because well, I don't know if it was him or her, but your sibling's mother didn't keep the child, right?
No, she gave him up for adoption. It's a him.
And that was when he was very small, right? Very
yes,
right at the beginning.
a couple months old.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess I forgot to say that. So I asked for non-identifying information. That's where
Hmm.
they tell, like, and I had to prove who I was. And they knew that from going back in the records that there had been three sisters, and that I was one of them, and they had my name. So that all went well. And so the non-identifying information really just told about, it gave specifics about at what age he might have walked, and what he looked like. But the better part was it gave information about the adoptive parents. And that
Okay.
is I'm not going to tell the whole story, but that it
Yes.
helped me. I'll just put it that
Yes.
way.
Okay. Good. Good. No, I mean, it's quite fascinating because I read the opening, and one of the things that really struck me was you said, your father was 25 and already had four children. And
Yes,
I'm like,
yes.
wow,
Yeah,
that
he
seems
was
like,
very, very immature, I guess, like very handsome, an Elvis kind of look-alike. And that was like he was a ladies' man, right? And a lot of women, really liked him, and men did too, because he was a decent guy to talk to, right?
hmm hmm
But he was just way, way too young to be, married. And he had us three kids and then went and had another one
yeah,
with another
that's a
girl.
lot. And I
So,
mean, it was also a different time,
yes,
so you think like society was so different. And I know that you were saying, I guess your half sibling's mom was underage at the time when she actually fell pregnant. And I'm sure that was a scandal for
yes, it
her.
was.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yeah.
that's probably part of the reason she had to give up the child, I
Yes,
guess.
yeah, she was just way too young to have a baby and take care of it. Maybe she thought with him that he could help her raise the child. But if you read the book, then something does happen to my
Right,
father.
right. Yeah,
So, yeah, that's why I think she felt that way. She was just way too young.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what they
that's
did back then. They gave them up for adoption. There wasn't, I don't think, all the social service agencies that they have now to provide income for these, young mothers that have no or little or no education. And they can keep the baby and take care of it. But I think she probably felt at a loss.
hmm hmm No, I mean, it sounds like an intriguing story. So I hope people go out there and get the book and read it and find out what happens.
Yes, yes.
All right. So let me ask you a little bit more about your writing process. So now it's COVID,
Sure.
and you've decided I'm writing this. You've got all your research done, and did you like to write in quiet, or well, I guess in COVID you couldn't go out to coffee shops, but did you like to have background music, or do you like silence?
It had to be totally silent. And that's the way I am when I read. Unless the book has really, really got me intrigued, I have to have silence. I just can't multitask. I hear one little noise and I'm like, oh, what was that? So if I know that there's going to be a little bit of noise in my house now, I do put on a little bit of quiet music with no words in it,
Hmm.
just for background to kind of drown out any
Like a
noises around
white
me.
noise? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then how long did it take you to complete?
So I am an educational assistant, so I always have summers and Christmases off, and I'm very, very lucky that way.
Hmm.
So one summer, I remember putting all my information in a file in the dates, like years, right, of all the time, all of my information, all the detective work, I guess you could say.
Okay.
And then so that was one summer. Then the next summer was when I got down to business. I did take a couple writing courses in the winter time.
Hmm.
One was called Writerific, and the other one was called Write Your Life Story, and they were free from my local library. So
Oh.
I really enjoyed those. So it was at that point where I thought, I think I can write, right? I think I can write a book, because she would challenge us to write, first it was 500 words, and it was 1,000 words, and then so on. And I thought, yeah, I think I'm going to give this a go. And I had some more tools in my tool belt to be able to write. So I got down to work the summer, probably 2020. And I wrote all, like, for 5 hours a day, up to 5 hours a day, all of July, and all of August. So
Mm-hmm.
that was nonstop every day. I just said to myself, I'm just going to write. I might have taken a day off here and there, right, to do a day trip, but that was the bulk of my writing. And then it was probably just filling in little gaps here and there. And of course, when you have beta readers, then you're rewriting again. Then when you have an editor, you're rewriting again. So it did take a while, but the bulk of it was, I think I'd have to say I had the bulk of it in those 2 months.
Yeah, that's actually very quick.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Well done. And
Thank
then
you. Yeah.
are you working on anything else now?
No, I did take another writing course though through my library. It was called How to Write Fiction Like a Pro. So since I wrote a memoir about my most of my life, I I can't really think of another memoir. There are
Mm-hmm.
memoir writers that travel or live in different parts of the world, and they write about that. Whereas I don't feel I could do another memoir, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I could write a fictional story. So, and it would be probably a mystery or a thriller. I really like Sherry Lapina or Pina.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember how you pronounce her name, but so it'd probably be in that style of writing.
Okay, so are you actually working on something?
Not at the moment.
It's
I'm hoping to
percolating.
this. It is. It is.
Yeah.
Well, so I got the bulk of, well, not the bulk of it, but I got most of the ideas down for that when I did my online writing course, because you could choose to submit your work. And so I thought, yeah, I'm going to make this commitment and get a lot of ideas down on paper in
Mm-hmm.
case I do write this story. So I'm hoping to this summer.
I mean, you got to start somewhere. I think that's the whole thing, is just start doing it. It doesn't really matter what it looks like, just do it.
Right.
So how
Right.
was the response to your memoir, maybe just even from your family? What was the
What was the response?
Yeah, what did they say about it? Or I mean, it's maybe even friends that didn't really know what you were going through or didn't know. I'm just
Well,
curious.
most of my friends, yeah, you're right. Like people that didn't know what went on, right, with this half sibling and what my life entailed, they were like shocked. They're like, I had no idea that any of that was going on in your life. Because I do also speak to mental health. I am a person who struggles daily with anxiety. I
Hmm.
have been depressed different times in my life, when I've had losses or whatnot. So a lot that was kind of bearing myself to the world, and a lot of
Hmm.
people didn't. They said, I had no idea, Wendy, because you just appear like you're fine, because I have just known and learned how to hide it, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, so my friends loved it. I've had such good positive feedback from my friends. They all have said, Wendy, I couldn't put it down. I read it in a day, and I am not a reader.
It's very easy to
So
read. Yes.
yeah,
It really,
yeah,
and I actually like the way that you almost tell things before they happen and then put them. You've got quite an interesting way of arranging time,
thank you.
which I enjoy. Um, okay, and then what are some of your favorite memoirs? I know you
Right,
said the other author, but that wasn't a memoir, right? That was fiction.
right. So I do really enjoy Kathy Glass. I don't know whether you've ever read any of
No, what
hers.
is one of hers?
Uh, she's wrote so many, I can't think, but the general idea of hers is she's, I think, what you call a caregiver
Uh-huh.
in England, possibly. And she writes about all these children that have these problems, and she takes them into her care. And sometimes these children go back to their parents, and sometimes they find a forever home.
Okay.
So I do really enjoy hers. So hers are somewhat like, I guess, like a memoir, but they're always based on the one child, and she's taken care of many, many children. I'm reading Educated right now by Tara Westover.
Hmm.
Westover, yeah, and I am loving it. I read it and I think, oh, I thought I had a bad childhood, or I think I had a bad life or bad upbringing, but wow, she is a survivor. Wow.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I
yeah,
think that's the beauty, I think, of memoirs, is that they're so inspiring. And I
very.
think when you've had your own sort of difficult childhood, I mean, I find them compelling. Like, I just want to read them because it's comforting in a way to know that other people went through it, but it's also, I don't even know what it is, but yeah, it's like when you see that accident, you just can't look away. It's like, I have to know what's happening. Yeah. I
Right.
mean, and, and obviously it's the vulnerability people show when they write as well. That's, it's like you said, it's like kind of exposing yourself, right?
Exactly. And I like the memoirs where they are the underdog. I don't know whether I don't like reading ones where they're born into being rich and because that's just not my experience, I guess. And
Right.
I know I should maybe be more empathetic to that and understand that, just because you have money doesn't mean you have problems or whatnot. But I
Yeah.
like to see people that come from poverty and make something of themselves.
Yeah. And I can see why you were saying, is it Kathy Glass?
Yes.
If she's talking about, being a sort of almost like a foster parent, it sounds like,
Yes.
because I think you experienced that in your own childhood, didn't you? You were
Yes. Yes. With the
in
three
care of,
ladies.
yeah, of other people. So I'm sure it really speaks to you.
It
'Cause,
does. It does.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, is there a favorite part in your book that you would maybe like to share with us?
Sure, sure. A lot of times when asked that, I do read one section, but I kind of am tired of reading that section.
Okay, okay. No,
So I picked a different one. It's so my book is in different sections. So this is part 2 called The Search. This is chapter 15, and it's called A Fount of Knowledge. This happened in 1993.
okay.
In part 1, I offered the reader a sweeping story of my love and loss, from the death of my father to my childhood and family relationships to my long, painful journey to grow my family. You got a glimpse into the beautiful highs and breathtaking lows that made me a tenacious, inquisitive, and empathetic person, a person ready for the next chapter in her life, the search. After I recovered from my ectopic pregnancy, we tried to get pregnant for quite a while. It was during this time I got to thinking that I may not be able to have another child. This would mean no brother or sister for Darian, and that was my firstborn son. Would he be lonely? I also started thinking about my half brother or half sister and how they must feel being an only child. I knew for a fact my dad and the young girl he had been with had only one child together, and my mom always assumed it was put up for adoption. I suppose they could have siblings at their adoptive home, but they wouldn't be blood relatives like me and my sisters. I wondered if my half sibling ever felt alone. Would they want to know their family history? I decided to get serious about finding my half sibling. I contacted my mom and began to question her. At first, she challenged me. She said, "Why do you want to do that?" I answered, "Because this person is my brother or sister, and I feel it's something I'm led to do. I need closure. I want them to know about me, to know that I want to get to know them. Who knows, maybe we can even build a relationship." After this exchange, she gave me all the information she knew about the child. It wasn't much, but she did direct me to Aunt Myrna. Deep down, I may have been asking Mom's permission, but I knew her well enough to know she wasn't going to be totally okay with my plan, that this was something I had to do regardless.
Mm, it's lovely.
Thank you.
And now Aunt Myrna was your father's younger sister, right?
Yes, yes. And
And
she
so,
adored him.
and I mean, she was quite young when all of this was even going on.
Yes,
Yeah. Wow.
yes. Yeah, she was the one that really encouraged me to look for my half sibling, because she herself was a young mother at that time and she had wanted to adopt him, but she had, I
Oh,
believe, she had 2 children already. And so with her husband, I think he was gone a lot. She felt it would just be too much. It would be way too much for her because she would have her 2 children and then this other child. So
mm,
yeah, she kind of, not like, I can't speak for her, but I got the feeling she felt bad about my half sibling having to go to
sure.
somebody like another
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you have a good relationship with your sisters?
Yes, yes, I do. Yeah. There's been,
Yeah.
I can't say that it's all been Roses.
Well, I don't think
Right.
anyone says, but
Right. But yeah, we still are connected. And we're actually going down to visit our mom probably March break sometime and yeah, chat with her and her husband.
hmm.
Yeah.
um, good. Okay, and I was going to say, oh, if this were to be made into a film, I mean, do you think it's something that could be made into a film?
A movie?
Yes.
Oh, film. That's what. Okay,
Yes,
sorry,
I'm
I didn't
sorry, my
understand.
pronunciation. Yeah,
That's
into a
okay.
movie.
It covers a long span of my life, like from
Hmm.
as a child at 4 until like over 50 years of age. So yeah, I think it could be. I think it could be a film. I think I do kind of mention that in the beginning that people, before I wrote the book and I told them this story, they said, wow, this sounds like it could be a movie.
Hmm.
So just based on that, and it wasn't one or two people, it was most of the people I told the story to, they said that. So I think it could be, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then, of course, my next question is, who would be playing you?
Right. Well, I have red hair, so it'd have to be a redhead. I really like Julianne Moore's style of acting.
Hmm.
Um, she's very much a redhead because I know she has the freckles. I do have a lot of freckles, not my on my face, they kind of join together, but all over my body, I have a lot of freckles.
Yeah, no.
So probably her, like she's 63 now, the same age. I'm going to be 61 this year. So,
Hmm.
but it would obviously have to be somebody a lot younger to play me through those
Of
stages.
course, yeah. But I mean, I think we can all imagine a young Juliana Moore and see exactly that.
Right.
That would be a good match. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, what advice do you have to people that are thinking they might want to write a memoir?
I would say if you have never written anything in your life, that I thoroughly recommend taking a writing course. That
Hmm.
those two really helped me, especially because the one was called How to Write Your Life Story, and then
And
the other one,
sorry, you were saying that was free through the library.
it was, yeah, they're called Gale, Gale, Gale courses.
Hmm.
So yeah, you do it all online from your own home, from your computer, and there is an instructor that you hand your lessons in, and you do take tests, and it's not difficult. It's just gets you thinking about writing and all the different techniques.
And they
And
were giving you feedback as you were going.
yes, yeah,
Because
and that helped me
yeah, I
because I
think
never
feedback's
really,
invaluable, right? I mean,
yeah,
it
yeah, I
gets.
never really thought of myself as a writer, like of long, lengthy projects. I knew I could write like maybe a poem, a little short story,
Mhm.
but never a book.
And then are you still doing the children's books?
Yeah, well, I have the one children's book where that's the one that I had tried to get traditionally published.
Hmm.
And they said, I just got all these rejections. So I belonged to a writers group at the time, and they recommended, they said, well, Wendy, it's your book, you've wrote the story. It's called The House That Grew Feet. And I said, well, I'm not an illustrator. I can write, but I'm not an illustrator. And so there was one lady in my group that said, well, why don't you publish the book with blank pages and the children draw the pictures? So
Oh,
being an educator, I know children love to draw, right? So that's what I've done with that one. I do have another story that I could do the same thing with. I don't know, I'm in limbo right now.
well, I'm quite fascinated by that. So have you had any children actually fill in a drawing and seen what they look like?
Uh, that's what I asked for at the end of the book, and nobody has given me feedback, but I have done some vendor shows and there was a anniversary of the town that I used to live in Inwood, and they had me there, and I sold my books, and I had
Hmm.
an easel set up with a blank page, and there was some children that I invited to come up, and they
Oh,
drew their kind of rendition of what the house that grew feet, and it was a collaboration. So it was
oh.
a bunch of children drawing the picture.
I love this one story. Oh my gosh, I've forgotten his name, Sir Ken Robinson, I want to say. And he was telling the story about this little girl who's drawing, and the teacher says, "What are you drawing?" And she goes, "Well, I'm drawing God." And he goes, "Well, nobody knows what God looks like." And the little girl says, "Well, they will in a minute."
Oh, that's cute. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
so
cute.
sweet. I love the
Yeah.
idea of the house that grew feet. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, it's about a little boy who has a fight with his sister. And he, of course, says, I don't, want to live here anymore. And so I can't tell it without giving the story away. He, in his imagination, he travels to a bunch of different places in the world with his house. So he's in his house, and his house takes him places in the world.
Ah, ah,
And so he realizes that really there is no place like home. And he also needed to learn some manners. He was not a very nice little boy. He was rude. And yeah, so when he gets back, it's just a dream, but he
hmm.
thinks that he thought it was real. But yeah, so he learns his manners and becomes a nice little boy.
Oh, that's quite. That sounds very sweet. Now, is that available online?
It's not, because
No.
of the fact that I had to when I oh, do I have it here? Oh, here.
Oh,
Sorry.
we're going to see it. Yay.
So this is what it
Ah,
looks like. So the way that it had to be bound, I can't have it perfect bound. I had to have it saddle stitched, which is
hmm.
staples, so that the kids can draw on the one page, and it has to stay flat. So it will stay flat because it's
Right, right.
stapled. So Amazon does not do, that I'm aware of. They only do perfect bound.
Yeah, they don't do that
So
format. That's a pity.
yeah, but
Ah,
if someone wanted to, I do mail them in Canada.
okay.
So if someone wanted a copy, they could get it, and I could mail it
So,
in
okay, so
Canada.
I can put information underneath here and I'll put you have a website, correct?
I don't. I have
You
a
don't
link tree, and I
on
have
your
Facebook,
Instagram. Okay.
Instagram, yeah, TikTok.
And then your book is available on Amazon
It is.
and it's uh you didn't do an audio book, right?
I did not. No,
No.
no, I
Okay.
did
Have you
not.
thought about doing one?
I have, yeah, because both of my children are, my one son does music production, so
Ah,
he knows what I would need to do an audio book. But I've also followed some other memoirists, and one lady on my memoir Facebook group has had an offer for a free AI, I think, generated
ah. Is
book.
this on We Love Memoirs? Is it that group?
Yes,
Ah,
yes,
yes. It's
yes,
a very popular
yeah.
group.
It is
And
very popular.
it seems it's very supportive and it's a good community to be part of. So if you're a memoirist, go and look at, We Love Memoirs. Yes, AI, that's an interesting one because I asked someone else about it and they said they were wondering if it would have enough emotion to read.
Right.
It's,
Yeah, I thought that too.
it's a good question. I have no idea.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you
Uh,
can pick which voice you want, and from my understanding, it is getting better.
mhm.
But that would be it'd be an idea, I guess. I could
Yeah.
try.
No, I'm curious about it too. All right. And then how are your book sales going?
I would say that for Searching for a Stranger, I do sell my books also in some local stores. So they
Mhm.
do well locally. It
I
is
thought I
available.
actually saw you in Walmart or aren't you in some big store?
Barnes and Noble, possibly.
Hmm.
Yeah, Walmart is possibly, because I am published with Ingram Spark. So that
Okay.
means that they can
Offer
send
the
it
copy.
out to
Okay.
many places. My local library, you can borrow it there for free. I think anywhere probably in the world you could get it through your library, possibly. It's on Kindle version. So Amazon is available many ways. Prime Reading, it's available because they just offered me like a contract, I guess, for that. So if you have Prime, like how you have Prime on
I'm
Amazon, where you
yeah,
pay a
yeah.
month. Yeah, they have books, so it's available that way. It's available on
Huh.
yeah, their membership for Kindle. I can't remember the
It's the
name. Kindle
KD.
Unlimited.
Oh, Kindle Unlimited, yes.
Yeah,
But then you make a lesser amount, I guess, but still, it's,
right.
yeah. But I mean, no, I don't think any of us write memoirs to make money. Because
Absolutely not.
it's
Absolutely
just for
not.
the love of it. All right. Well, is there anything else that you would like to let us know about, or anything
The only
upcoming?
thing that I can think of is that if you're thinking about writing a book or you're thinking about searching for someone, um, never give up. Never give up hope.
Mhm.
Because I know for myself, coming from a family of poverty, I never imagined that I would be able to do the things that I did and accomplish the things that I did. A lot of times when you grow up in poverty, you feel like you're always going to be in poverty. It's hard to rise above that. But just believe in yourself and just never give up. And that's kind of my motto or my theme of my book and me as a person. I feel it's important. And that, yeah,
Mhm.
authors over 50, if you want to write a book and want to try, I think you should do it.
Absolutely. That's very lovely advice. And yes, stand behind that.
Yeah,
Never give up. Yeah.
no, no.
Why? Exactly. Thank you very much for chatting with me today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.